If you've ever been on the internet, you've probably heard of this show called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, aka How I Learned to Stop a Vampire and Love My Stand. It's split into 8 separate parts that are very different from one another, but the one thing they all have in common is it's always about a guy named JoJo who goes on a bizarre adventure. Except in part 4, where JoJo stays home, and in part 3, which isn't about JoJo. JoJo is there, but it's not about him. He gets a lot of screen time for a side character. The creator of the show is known for some pretty crazy things: his undying hate for dogs, his inability to settle on art style, and his rejection of modern copyright law. But quite possibly his wildest move is waiting several episodes in before introducing the main protagonist. In the Monster of the Week format, we get introduced to this no eyebrow, eraserhead, Andre the Giant dressing ass who honorably challenges the Stardust Crusaders to a duel, and promptly gets his teeth kicked in. He honorably chooses to burn to death in defeat, leading JoJo to question, for the only time in the adventure, hey, maybe this guy is being mind controlled. As soon as he's free, this guy Frenchie joins the crew and drops a more compelling backstory than all the other Crusaders put together, besides the one whose backstory is the entire previous season. It's not better than his.
Oh, that's a baseball!
So first and most importantly, he gets the most screen time and the most fights. Well, yeah, JoJo does get the most last hits. It's Shiny Knight who does the most fighting, gets the most episodes dedicated to his solo fights, and in the big group fights, he gets the most attention. Not only that, but he has the most important fights by a lot. He has that fight where one Crusader dies, that fight where one Crusader comes back to life, and the fight where the Crusader dies again, but this time with a dog. On top of that, he's the only one that really interacts with the rest of the cast. We see him hang out with Cherry Boy, he argues with the fireman, we see Big Daddy JoJo talk to him more than his own grandson, and he's the only one that really interacts with the dog at all after his introduction. No other Crusader is worthy of being farted on. On the flip side, JoJo lets others talk for him pretty often. Even before the big climactic battle, Big Daddy JoJo completely speaks for little JoJo and puts words in his mouth. Come on JoJo, you don't have the smallest opinion? You don't have anything to say about this? Frenchie doesn't let anyone talk for him. It's Frenchie who actually mourns the death of his fellow Crusaders, and we see the psychological toll it takes on him. Meanwhile, JoJo just kinda grunts in acknowledgement. Dude grunted when Cherry Boy joined them, and he just grunted when he died. Gotta tell you, that's not very main character-esque.
Oh, that's a baseball!
Possibly the most telling aspect of who the protagonist is whose perspective we get the story from and who the camera follows. If Dio was the protagonist, we would see his struggles of hiring henchmen and worrying about the world's most dedicated repo men coming to literally take his ill-acquired arms and legs. Since JoJo and Shiny Knight are usually close together, there's not a huge difference on who the camera follows, but there's a few telling scenes. When our boy, Fire Chicken, is apparently killed, we follow along with Frenchie's grief and rage and not JoJo calmly chucking him into a hospital. When they finally do meet up with their healed teammate, it plays out like the Fire Chicken rising from the ashes revived as Frenchie sees it, and not JoJo just going through some convoluted plan of secrecy. And just for a second, what's up with all that anyway? Why have the Phoenix Man dress up as his grandfather? We already know he had some other disguise, so why have him aged up just to say all that heart-wrenching stuff in front of Frenchie? Surely you must hate him and blame him for all that to do that. That's not something you do to somebody that you like. And why did the rest of the group go along with it at that point? He was already healed up and safe, so why make Frenchie feel even guiltier about his mistakes except to make him confront the ghost of his past and grow to be the main character he was always meant to be?
Oh, that's a baseball!
Frenchie is not the same man he starts off as a lot of the cast is always happy to point out. He has a lot of character flaws, primarily his goofiness, his arrogance, and his thirst for revenge. While he doesn't really get any less goofy, he does make real progress in the other two. In his first fight, he gets burned due to underestimating his opponent, something that the fireman points out more than once. In his first few fights after that, he gets himself into bad situations way worse than they should have been if he took his opponents seriously as he should have from the start. Through the series though, he slowly learns and grows and gets himself into bad situations due to being way more observant than the other Crusaders rather than arrogance. A lot of his character arc at the start is his quest for revenge. Like all revenge arcs, he wants revenge but learns revenge is bad. He still 100% kills the guy he wanted revenge on, but he was able to let go of his need for revenge first, so it still counts. When all is said and done, he walks away from the experience a better person with a new reason to fight. A smaller point is he started out really hating the dog in contrast to the other Crusaders' real lack of opinion or interaction with him. As the season went on, his hate diminishes, and by the penultimate fight, just like a Christmas movie, he realizes how much he really liked the dog all along. Also like a Christmas movie, the dog dies. Meanwhile, JoJo is one of the most static characters in the entire show. Episode 1, he learns what a stand is. In episode 10, he decides he likes India. And in the last episode, he learns how to actually use his stand. Even the dog gets more character growth than him. Actually, the dog kind of gets a lot. He goes from leaving the crew to die several times to sacrificing himself for Shiny Knight.
Oh my god!
Some say true growth can only come from suffering, and boy oh boy does our Chrome Knight suffer. Now everybody gets it bad. JoJo is practically a body horror anime, but Frenchie gets it so much worse than anybody. In episode 8 and 9, Frenchie and JoJo each get their own solo fights back to back, and it's a big difference. Every bad thing that could happen to him in a hotel room does, and the stakes have never been higher. Dude isn't just fighting for his life here, he's fighting for his balls. Meanwhile, the worst thing that happens to JoJo is getting his uniform wet and a boo-boo on his finger. Okay, yeah, seeing Cherry Boy do the whole cherry thing was disconcerting, but the ball thing is kinda worse. To an even further extreme, look at the two fights before the finale. JoJo is having fun playing video games while Shiny Knight is watching his friends die in the darkest episode of the season.
Would you care to wet your whistle?
You're pretty clever.
Why am I the only one who survived?
You should be more encouraging.
Hey, Abdul! Where did you go?
I'm really starting to enjoy this game.
Come out, Abdul! That's a baseball!
JoJo is 90% shonen battles, but the other 10% is some of the most interesting parts of the series. Mainly the creator trying to get the audience up on whatever fun fact he got off of his Snapple cap. It's these moments where we get a feel for who the characters are, and most of these moments go to our main man, Frenchie. We learn about his dream of becoming a famous cartoonist, which is really out of left field, but also doesn't ring wrong at all for this character. We see his love for the ladies and how it totally contrasts with his normally hard exterior. Hell, we even know that he hates unclean things like dirty toilets, which actually pays off later, taking the stakes of that goofy-ass toilet-looking scene even higher. JoJo doesn't have anything like that. He never goes around mentioning how much he hates the idea of any of his bones being broken. So when the Waldo breaks a bunch of his bones, we don't have that extra little connection. Oh no, that was his favorite bone. Plus, we see Shiny Knight having fun and doing things he enjoys like smoking. We never see JoJo do anything like that. JoJo doesn't smoke. If he did, we would get to see JoJo smoke, and we never see JoJo smoke. Why doesn't JoJo do something cool like smoke? I would have liked to see that. What does JoJo have? He likes dolphins? I know that's what the whole fandom decided, but all of that is based off of what he wears in a different season. Dude was in the water several times with zero sign he was interested in the sea life there. When he was in the luxury fish washing sub, dude never once went to the window to see the fish. Know who did? The main character. The one thing JoJo for sure has though, his hatred for women. Dude has a total of zero respect for all the ladies in his life. This isn't just a one-time thing, it comes up again and again. I'm not saying he's at gamer levels of woman hate, but the creator sure wanted to make sure we didn't miss it. I think JoJo is less rude to the people he puts in the hospital than flirting girls. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad character, I'm just saying he's a side character. He doesn't get a lot of characterization, but that's okay. It's not that it's missing, it's that he doesn't need it. He's there to be too cool, which he does amazingly. Any extra characterization beyond that would just take away from that, while Frenchie is there to drive the story forward. And drive the story forward, Shiny Knight does, literally driving the rest of the Crusaders closer to their goal while JoJo is in the literal and figurative back seat. Frenchie is the guy that causes the drama of the episode to happen, either finding and revealing the enemy stands or giving them an opportunity to attack through his antics. Meanwhile, Joj couldn't even find an enemy stand if it was trying to kill his comrade in plain sight right in front of him. So yeah, JoJo is good at the fights, but he's rarely the one that causes the events of the episodes to unfold.
Oh, that's a baseball!
For what little it's worth though, it bears mentioning the ways that Frenchie falls short of being the undisputed main character. First of all, there's this scene where someone breaks the fourth wall to call him a side character. But honestly, fuck that guy, he's the second worst villain outside of the rape ape. What does he know? Well, present in other medias, the one sure sign in anime for who your protagonist is who's getting the most sucking, and JoJo sure gets a lot. Nobody misses a chance to talk about how cool JoJo is, or how powerful he stands. Whether it be passerbys, his allies, or even his enemies, everyone has to mention how big and strong he is.
Just a big man, such a big man, because he's just too big.
Meanwhile, everybody shits on the Shiny Knight like he was some kind of comedy relief character instead of the tragic hero he is. While he absolutely deserves it sometimes, enemies and allies alike really look down on him.
Not big at all.
So fucking that's the video. If you're wondering who the protagonist is, wonder no more. It's that fucking guy right there. See that guy right there? That's the guy. It's him. Now, be sure to tell me why you think I'm full of shit in the comments, but don't hit that dislike button. Something, Killer Queen has already touched that button.